Hey there, y'all. How you doing? I hope that you're enjoying a snow day today, but you might not be, so in that case, sorry, you're at school. Don't know what to tell you. Let's go ahead and get started on our new route. And this one's actually brand new. It's a new chapter in the book. Woot woot, get excited. We're on page 38, and our route is Cogni, Gnos, which means to know. Thank you, Gautier, for singing a little bit about that, right? Somebody that you use to know. You get it? You get it? See what I did? Uh-huh. All right. Okay. If you recognize from the roots re again and cog meaning to know, someone, you know him or her again. Cogni is the Latin root for know. The Greek root for know is nous. From nous we get gnostic, meaning divine knowledge, particularly of God. So an agnostic, from the roots a meaning not and nous meaning to know, is someone who does not know whether there is a God. If you are ill, you get a diagnosis, from the roots dia meaning by or through and nous meaning to know, through your doctor's knowledge. You may not recognize the word acquaint, meaning toward knowing, as having a cogni root, because over time and through use, its spelling has changed. And that's actually going to be our first word. So acquaint, to make familiar, to furnish with knowledge, to come to know. From the roots ac, meaning to or toward, and cogni, meaning to know. It is a verb, so make a note. It literally means toward knowing, but we don't really use it that way. We mean to make familiar, to furnish with knowledge, or to come to know. One objective of the course is to acquaint students with effective methods of studying. I have a picture here of people shaking hands. We talk about how you get acquainted with someone. You get to know them. You come to know them. You make yourself familiar with them. That's why we use the word acquaint. Our next word is cognitive, relating to or involving conscious intellectual activity, such as thinking, reasoning, or remembering. Cognitive is an adjective, and you'll note the only root here is the cogni nous root. And let's take a look at something that tells us a little bit more about this word cognitive. This is from the Open University.
There's a party atmosphere at the Cognitive Research Center. The psychologists and volunteers know each other pretty well. Some of these people have been doing tests here for 17 years.
What we're going to do is some memory tests. We're going to show you a list of words for you to remember.
The volunteers are part of a massive longitudinal study. Several thousand people are involved.
So we're going to pause here. We don't need to watch all of this to understand. But the word cognitive means relating to or involving conscious intellectual activity, like thinking, reasoning, or remembering. So what they're doing here is a study on how well people remember things and how your cognitive ability changes over time. And so they're showing people words or numbers and asking them to remember them and write them down later or do other things with them, okay? So it's a test of their cognitive ability, how much conscious intellectual activity is happening, like thinking, reasoning, and remembering, okay? Hopefully that'll help you remember this word a little bit. Our next word is cognizant. Again, we only have that main root in there. It is an adjective. Knowledgeable or understanding of something, fully informed. The police officer was cognizant of his responsibility to the community that he served. So there are police officers. He was aware, he was very informed about what duties he had and what he needed to do to keep his community safe, right? I do want to pause here and make sure, have you highlighted those roots and underlined those words and definitions and everything? If not, please make sure you're doing that. We've been doing this for a while, so I'm assuming you know to do that, but I'm reminding you now just in case, okay? Our next word is diagnosis. A diagnosis is an investigation or analysis of the cause or nature of a condition, situation, or problem. It has two roots in it, dia meaning apart and cogni meaning to know. The sentence here, the x-ray confirmed the diagnosis of a broken leg. The doctor said it was a broken leg. They looked at an x-ray. Oh, look, it is broken. The diagnosis was correct. I found a little cartoon from a website called Extra Normal, which is a pretty cool place to create things, though not all of it is really for school, but it's a very deadpan look at a first-year medical student and how they really don't know very much, and they don't know how to do an exam. It's kind of funny. We're going to watch just a little bit of it and see how the medical student makes a mistake. but it is just pretend. It's not real.
Hello. I am a first-year medical student. What brings you here today?
Hello, medical student. I have been having some stomach pain and have been feeling feverish for the past few days. Are you going to say anything?
Please wait. I am allowing for silence. Okay, I am sorry that you are sick. Please tell me how that makes you feel.
Bad. I have chills and a headache.
Please tell me more.
That's it. What is wrong with me?
Diabetes.
I have diabetes.
All right, now obviously when you have chills and your stomach doesn't feel well and your head hurts, probably not diabetes, right? So this is kind of a joke that the medical student doesn't really know what's wrong. Again, it's just a joke, of course. But the diagnosis is incorrect. Those symptoms don't match what he says this person has. Or this dog, maybe? I'm not sure what animals they are. They're some animal, okay? So the diagnosis has to match the symptoms, right? Our next word is diagnostic. A diagnostic is a distinguishing sign or symptom, using the methods of or yielding a diagnosis. So it's related. It has the same two roots, dia meaning apart, and cogni meaning to know. Diagnosis was a noun though, and this word, diagnostic, see how it ends in IC? It's an adjective. Almost all words that end in IC can function as adjectives. Not everyone, but a lot of them, okay? And the sentence we have here, the mechanic ran a diagnostic, here's a mechanic running a diagnostic, test on the car to determine why it was running roughly. So he ran a test to tell him, based on the symptoms, what was the diagnosis. So that was the diagnostic is the test you run to figure out the diagnosis. Okay? Just remember, diagnosis, noun, diagnostic, adjective. Cool? Oh, I like this word, incognito. I think you should say it like that every time. Incognito. With one's identity concealed or disguised. It's from the roots in meaning not and cogni meaning to know. So not to know, right? Makes sense. My favorite examples of people incognito are, of course, superheroes. Bruce Wayne is really Batman. And here we have Superman goes incognito as Clark Kent. No one knows. They haven't figured it out yet, right? Note that this can be an adjective or an adverb. It can be used either way. The spy traveled incognito. All right, metacognition. Metacognition is knowledge or awareness about one's own learning or thinking process. So meta means beyond or change, and cogni means to know. So think of it as like knowing beyond what you do, okay? You're thinking about how you think, or you're thinking about how you learn. Kind of a crazy thing to think about, but it's true. The teacher told the students to practice metacognition when reading their textbook. So think about how you're learning. What's the best way to approach your learning here?
Cognition is the realm of thinking. Metacognition is the realm of thinking about thinking. Not thinking about the phenomenon of thought in general or the nature of knowledge in the philosophical sense, but reflecting on your own thinking process.
I think that's the best way to say it. Reflecting on your own thinking process, or reflecting on the way you learn. Prognosis. A prognosis is a forecast or prediction usually associated with the prospect of recovery, such as from disease. So we have the roots pro meaning forward or forth, and nos meaning to know. So foreknowledge, knowing before, right? The prognosis for her recovery was good. All right, we're going to zoom in a little bit here. So we have here Dr. House saying a diagnosis is a determination of what's wrong with the patient. We already had that word. The prognosis is the anticipated progression of the diagnosed condition. This includes the prospect of recovery for the patient. So if the diagnosis is where the doctor figures out what's wrong, prognosis is what he thinks will happen next, and hopefully when he thinks he'll recover, right? Or she. And this one's kind of a funny one. My diagnosis is that you have an unhealthy trust in charlatans. Charlatans are like con men, people who talk you into doing things you shouldn't, or talk you into paying for things you shouldn't, right? This condition carries a dire prognosis, bankruptcy. When you give your money to charlatans, they run away with it instead of investing it, and you lose everything, right? So here we have both diagnosis and prognosis can also be used in non-medical contexts. You can talk about a diagnosis and a prognosis with regard to marriage, car issues, economy, whatever, right? So a prognosis, again, that's when we talk about what's going to happen next, okay? That's very much related to the word prognosticate. Now, your book says a forecast or progression or prediction. That is not correct. I want you to cross out that A. If you look, prognosticate is a verb, okay? It is not a noun. So it means to forecast or predict. Go ahead and fix that right now. So prognosticate means forecast or predict. The researcher explained that science does not prognosticate. So science doesn't just make a forecast or a prediction, okay? Here I have a woman looking into a crystal ball, but it doesn't have to be like that. You can prognosticate about anything. So I could prognosticate that everyone's going to make an A on the roots quiz because you're all going to study so hard, right? Right? We're going to go with yes on that. All right, and our last one, recognition. From the roots re meaning back or again, and cogni meaning to know, recognition is knowledge that someone or something present has been encountered before. And we have another funny here. So first we're going to watch how this little girl recognizes her daddy. It's pretty cute.
Oh, Doc, can I have a hug? Oh, nice.
Isn't that so cute?
Where's my beer? Yeah, that's nice.
Most
Okay,
adorable thing ever, right? Okay, I've skipped it ahead a little bit. Now we're going to take a look at the same. The man has set his little girl down. He's gone in the bathroom, and you're going to see what happens next.
What?
Look, he shaved. And look at her face.
Hey.
She doesn't know what to do.
You recognize me? You see my face?
Okay, we won't listen to her cry for too long. So what happened here? She doesn't recognize him anymore because he doesn't look the same. Before there was recognition. He had a beard. She knew what he looked like. Now he shaved the beard off. She doesn't know who he is. Oh no! All right, that was our last word. I hope you underlined all the definitions, highlighted all your words and roots. You are responsible for exercises 1 and 2. You will be responsible for the Kia. I'm going to try and make sure that gets up before any bad weather hits or anything. And if I don't get to see any of you tomorrow, then I hope you have a great day, and we'll see you Monday.